Here it is. It's 5 o'clock in the morning once again, and I'm recording a vocab video. I'm sorry it's a couple days delayed getting on this one, guys. I'm kind of reappraising how we use these, or rather how you use these, because I'm not sure many students are really listening to them. It really would be good if you did. I think it would really help with our scores. So something to consider. Take your time. Go over these videos. They're the way to get higher vocab scores, and it's a way to learn a bunch of words that are going to make you sound smart and clever in conversation. One more thing on this before we move on. Knowing words is knowing ideas, okay? I don't want to get into a bunch of theory stuff, but basically the more words you know, the more ways you know how to think. So it's really worth our time to go through this stuff. Anyway, here we go, vocab video number 6 for this year, or The Legend of Curly's Gold. None of you are going to get that joke, and you're all going to think it's lame, but I promise it's actually kind of funny. All right, here we go. These are the words this week. Evidence, ogle, writhe, tumult, somber, smite, pilgrimage, invoke, eloquent, and beseech. Now, writhe. Okay, to writhe is a verb. It's to twist and move as a result of extreme pain. You can see the soccer player on the pitch here. Maybe he's in extreme pain, maybe not. Soccer players tend to flop a lot, but he's certainly writhing. To writhe is to move in I almost picture like a snake-like way. They're in such pain, like everything is bending and moving. All right, so to ogle. To ogle at something is to stare at it. Usually you ogle at a person, not necessarily. It could be just a part of a person, but it could also be at like a car that you really like, something like that. But to stare at it in a gross or even upsetting kind of way, ooh, well, that's kind of, you're looking at it with a look in your eye that isn't very nice. That's to ogle something. To ogle is not a good thing to do. If someone says you're ogling them, that is not a compliment. You need to stop doing it. This is, I'm going to go here. This is a particularly important thing in our current society. I would press it upon all of the students I have to do this themselves and encourage their friends to behave in a more dignified fashion with this stuff. We really need to be kinder and gentler with one another. And part of that is ogling and making people feel uncomfortable. So, anyway. Tumult. The chaos and the violent movement of a crowd suddenly disturbed or provoked. Now, this is a noun. It's not a verb. It's not moving, right? It's the labeling of the movement itself, right? Like, I can punch something like that's a verb, or we can talk about the punch I threw, and that'd be the noun of it, right? He landed a punch. This is kind of like that. It's a noun. The tumult is the movement itself of the crowd having gone crazy. Tumult isn't a single person. It's at least a small group, but usually it's a rather large crowd. And you can see here this turmoil and this chaos, this tumult of this protesting, which maybe that fits with what we're doing right now in class and what we're reading. Who knows? Somber. Somber is an adjective. It usually describes someone's look or their mood, a way they act, or a way that they feel. It's a way that demonstrates sadness or feeling grim. If you're especially somber, you're very serious to the point of sad. So it's kind of dark, kind of depressing. That'd be somber. That's this woman here in this movie. I'm not sure which movie it is. I wish I did know because it rings a bell. She looks very somber. All right, to smite. Smite is a verb. It's to strike or to hit very hard. That's my second meme picture this week. Strike or hit something very, very hard. It's usually used in a grand way. You don't just say these in a casual. If someone like slaps their hand on the table, you don't say the past tense is smote. You don't say he smote the table. Also, the past tense is smote. How cool is that? Not smited. Anyway, a very powerful strike. If you read the Bible, you'll hear that like God smite, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, we're talking about really serious kinds of hits here. Or Batman smacking Robin. That is really, when you look at it, that is a disturbing picture that is turned into a meme. I don't know how I feel about that. But Batman is so strong, so I suppose smite would be appropriate. Now, a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a noun. It's a journey that someone takes when they are seeking personal or spiritual fulfillment. It's almost always for religious reasons, but sometimes people have a pilgrimage that's not like officially religious, but something that means a lot to them personally. So someone who's really into movies might make a pilgrimage to Hollywood because it makes them feel more close to what they believe in. Someone may have, they're a mountain climber, so they take a pilgrimage to K2 or to Kilimanjaro or another mountain to go and see it, right? Anyway, now these are two very famous pilgrimages. On the left is Mecca and the Kaaba. So for Muslims, this is the most sacred place on the planet. I don't entirely understand how the story of it goes, but it's this enormous stone that at one point in their lives, it's sacred. At some point in their lives, Muslims are supposed to find their way to Mecca. And millions of people go. It's a huge throng of people. Similarly, on the right is the river Ganges in India. And Hindus believe it's a sacred place. So, I mean, literally millions of people go to the Ganges every year to bathe in it. So this river will be full of people. You can't comprehend how full it will be. Anyway, to invoke. To invoke is a verb. If you invoke something, you're calling on a divine power to ask for aid in some kind. A prayer that asks for something to happen, that's to invoke the power of God. Now, it's also used, this word, in formal settings, in meetings and procedures, things like that, to call for something to happen or to institute a rule. I'm going to invoke our rule that, so-and-so in the meeting is no longer allowed to, blah, blah, blah. But really, here's what I want to talk about on this slide. Look how scary this picture is. I Googled invoke, and there's a picture of like a tiny, toddler witch. I don't know what she's doing. Is she making toys? Is she casting spells on her little brother? Who knows? She is terrifying. Let's just get it out there. All right, eloquent. This is an adjective. It's used to describe someone who can speak and describe things extremely well. Someone who's really good at talking. Now, this isn't just like they talk a lot. This is that they're persuasive. They have a good vocabulary. They can explain things well to any given audience. Now, when we think about eloquent, Martin Luther King immediately pops up. Former President Barack Obama had times when he was extremely eloquent, although also, funny enough, he could be very weirdly pausing in his speech. To keep from praising Obama too much, he could be weird in his speech patterns. He'd do a lot of ums and uhs and long, awkward pauses as he thought of the best way to explain something. And while it showed a lot of thought that he wanted to think about how to explain it so well, it did make for some weird moments. Other presidents who were good speakers. Reagan was very eloquent at times. There's a lot of interesting ones. But you don't have to just look to politics and politicians, as Martin Luther King would suggest. And I'm sure you have teachers who are extremely eloquent. And maybe you're becoming more eloquent as your vocabulary grows, and we need to do more public speaking in class. So get ready for that. All right, beseech. To beseech is a verb. It's to beg desperately for something. This dog here is beseeching his owner for food because his bowl is empty. Usually it's begging for something more intense than food, though. You beseech for, a life to be spared. You beseech for someone to fall in love with you. You beseech for big ideas. All right, evidence. Evidence is a noun. The information that you use to back up a claim or to prove a point. You can say anything you want, but if you can't back yourself up with evidence, this is for arguments in life, this is for papers that we write, you have to find evidence. So what's the information? What's the bits of kind of stuff that back you up? Now, I paused on that stuff thing because sometimes evidence is material stuff. Like in a court case, it could be, here's the weapon, here's the paper trail of all the crimes they committed, right? Sometimes evidence is quotes, like in a paper. Here's the thing from the story, here's the thing from the essay. Sometimes evidence is something from a lab report in your science classes, things like that. Now, we don't always do these, but I thought it'd be fun this week to talk about an idiom. Idioms are expressions that we use in common English that don't mean what they literally mean. So to nip in the bud is to end something at a very early stage. You'll hear someone say, we're going to nip it in the bud. That means before it even really gets going, we're going to stop it. Now, here's the thing. It's named after what you do with like flowers and roses. If you nip something in the bud, the moment it starts to grow, you cut it off. You get rid of it. All right. Now that causes it to grow in a certain way that shapes the bush. Here's the thing, though. It's not called to nip in the butt. That's that's probably something different. There's all kinds of things that students say that you're not actually saying them right. You're saying a different thing. People keep calling espresso espresso, which I guess would mean really fast coffee, but that's not a thing. And you need to stop saying, I could care less. If you could care less, that would imply that you do care. The expression is actually, I couldn't care less. My care level is at 0. There's no less caring than what I'm currently doing. Anyway, there it is. Those are our words of the week. That's our idiom of the week. That's the week. I don't think it's that week. I thought it was pretty strong for a guy at 5 a.m. recording. All right. See you soon.